I'm just going to add 1 or 2 more details here, and this will be done. So we are going to just add a cylinder here. So let's do Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder, and down here on the left there's properties. We can just make that, I don't know, 6, and let's rotate that on the y-axis 90 degrees and press S to scale, and we can move that. Oops, that was the scale button. Let's go into this view here. Oops, I'm on the scale tool. Okay. Let's press G, move that down, press S, and go to X-ray mode here. So that's a pretty thin piece, but that must be how they hook together. Okay, and we want to scale that in the X. So let's just scale that up. And we can just add a couple edge loops here. So Control R, scroll up to get 2 of them, SX to scale. Okay, and we'll go to face mode here. Press 3 to select faces. Now I can press I on the keyboard and it will scale both of them together. So that should be good enough. This is an n-gon in the middle, but because it's planar, it doesn't really matter. If you're worried about it, you could just use the knife tool to split these, and now they're both quads. So why don't we do that? Press return. Okay, so now when we add a subdiv to this object, it keeps its shape really well. Let's go up to 3. And there you go. Okay. We also have to do this front piece here. So in order to do that, we're just going to press Shift A and drop in a cube. Okay, so that's going to be this sort of arched piece that spans across from one to the other. It is rotated a little bit forward, but I'm going to model it straight up and down first, and then we will worry about rotating it later. Okay, so we're getting some shadowing here. If I turn off wireframe. Okay, good. I just needed to make sure that these were perfectly lined up. So that looks good. The reason we're not extruding from one object to another is because you typically want to model things how they're constructed in real life. And so this would be a separate object. So let's just go ahead and add some loops here. Okay, so I think that's going to be a good amount. If we look, there's actually a flat piece here at the bottom, and then probably one on the other side. So let's go to vertex mode. We're just going to move these into an arched shape. Let's go to object mode, tab out to that, press subdiv, and just to kind of get an idea of what we need to do, it looks like we're going to need a loop here and a loop here. So let's just add these in. So if you want to make these perfectly mirrored, that's actually pretty easy. We can come in and delete these. So let's just delete these faces, and we can actually add a mirror modifier. You can see that it's going to give us the same edits on both sides. So whenever you're working with something you want to be perfectly symmetrical, that's a good way to work. We can see that it's giving us a seam here in the middle, which it should be smoothing that out for us. So if you wanted to maintain that seam, move up the mirror modifier to be above the subdivision in the stack. Okay, and because it's merging those vertices for us, it will automatically smooth those out. Let's jump back into this view. Add an edge loop here. And we're going to need one at the top. And one like that. So this looks like a much thinner object than what I've actually modeled here. So let's do something like that. And actually, I think this might go up. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And so now we can rotate this into place. Yeah, that looks good. And one of the things that we can do is actually just apply the mirror modifier. And now it is all one piece of geometry, all symmetrical. So if you look at the chair, it actually has these little hooks underneath. You don't have to create those, but I'm just gonna quickly build that out. So let's do Shift D and let's do Y-axis. We'll move that up. So I think this is supposed to be one piece of wood, but I'm just gonna, let's do, if you don't want it to scale in a particular dimension, for instance, in the X dimension, I can do Shift X and it will scale everywhere except for X. So that's a little trick. Just get this. Okay. Right, and there's these hooks here, so those will be easy. We're just going to add a cube. Okay, and if we go to the 3 key, you can actually see a little face handle. That's a dot that's kind of in the middle of that line. So I know that I only have one face, and so if I extrude this, I can be pretty confident that it's actually extruding properly. So let's extrude that. We're going to rotate that. Maybe scale that down in the, just in the Y. We can extrude that one more time, and we'll just jump into vertices to actually make the shape a little bit better. Okay, back to face. Extrude this once again, and this will be our final extrude. Okay, so we've created this sort of wooden hook, and let's add our supporting edges. Oops, I need to add 2 of them. And we're going to add one at the top here, just to hold that shape. And we'll do, let's see what this looks like when we add our subdiv surface. Okay, so it should be a little bit sharper. So we can go to vertex mode. Let's just move these edges closer together. All right, shade smooth. And we're going to shade this one smooth as well, and this one. All right, one last thing. We're going to move this over. Actually, that was perfectly in the center. So if we just tab in and then move the geometry, whoops, let's add our X-ray. Move that over. Now if we add a mirror modifier, we have two of them. Maybe that's a little too far. Let's just move that in a bit. So it looks pretty good. So I don't know, how accurate this is to the actual construction, but with the reference image we have, that's pretty good. It should be able to create a similar shape. So it looks like, maybe this is supposed to be down a little bit. Let's move them all together. Or maybe not down, maybe just forward. So we'll just move these forward. And let's bring this up. It's a bigger hook, I think. That looks a little closer. Okay, save your work. And that's it for modeling the airline chair by Ken Weber.